All right, let's get to the big story. The big story, of course, is tethered to what happened yesterday, the changes in Uganda's security apparatus. We saw that General Kale Kayihura was booted out, well, in colloquial speech, being replaced by his deputy, Martin Okoth-Ochola, and then Brigadier Sabit Muzei comes in as deputy IGP. Security Minister Lieutenant General Henry Tumukunde was dropped as well and replaced by General Eli Tumwine. Let's talk about whether or not this was seen coming, and the implications of this, good, bad, or same old story. I'm joined by the Lord Mayor, Arias Lukwago. Good morning, Lord Mayor.
Good morning, my brother.
How are you?
I'm okay.
You have been quiet, busy working?
Well, doing so many things. Yes, I've been in the gutters, as you know. You see, we are trying to fix a few things to ensure that this country is back on the rail. So it's not that easy. You know, at times you've got to go into the drawing board. So we are cooking up something.
Cooking up something. But how is the city generally? I was asking you earlier on. You are the boss of the city, at least so we think. How are things moving on?
What should I say? It's the same old story. Governance challenges, and tomorrow I'm scheduled to appear before Parliament to defend my position, because there is a bill they are coming up with to change the structure of Kampala, to get rid of the position of the Lord Mayor, so to speak, because they want to render it totally useless. And of course, generally taking our powers from the elected leadership to the appointed proxies of the central government. So the bill is being fast-tracked before the Presidential Affairs Committee, and tomorrow we have to be there. So right now I'm trying to grapple with that issue. I'm preparing the kind of presentation we have to make, and thereafter to see how we are going to involve the people in this process, because ultimately it is the people's power which is being taken away. It's not God's authority. Yeah.
Okay. You see, when you talk matters security, it to a great extent affects this your jurisdiction, so to call it, Kampala. Matters security, first and foremost, rest and fall on Kampala, because you know many people descend on this city. Many people come from wherever to come and operate from here. Many others reside in this city, even though they hail from elsewhere. And so there have been these changes, and I just need to let the viewers know that we're meant to be joined by the Honorable Kezi Yambogo. He is the Deputy Chairperson of the Defence Committee of Parliament. He's not here. He promised to come. He's not picking his phones, but
he's a general.
People.
You said the General Mbogo?
No, he said Honourable.
Ooh.
I hope I didn't say General. Honourable Kezi Yambogo. He's the Deputy Chairperson of the Defence Committee of Parliament. So he should have been here, but he's not. But this is like a plane. It takes off and leaves you, and it moves. So we shall move. You know, it would have been good to hear his input, so that it's not an entirely one-sided show, but that's okay. The Lord Mayor is here. He's a good timekeeper. Now I know why the people of Kampala interested you. I hope you're a good timekeeper this way, or was it just for today?
Oh my God, when it comes to commitment, you will not fault me.
Because you leaders, there's a problem, and let me say this. We have a challenge with the leaders
I
and
have an
timekeeping.
obligation, no, when it comes to timekeeping, and generally honoring my obligations and commitment, I always do my best.
We are glad you
so
did
the
this
moment
one.
I make a commitment, I do my best to live to that.
Okay, let's talk about the changes that happened yesterday. For starters, did you see this coming? Did you fathom that this could ever happen, especially in the case of General Kale Kayihura? Did you think this man would ever be dropped by General Museveni?
Well, going by the events that have been unfolding in the recent past, it was really foreseeable. They were moving in, closing in on him every other passing day. So the day they nabbed his right-hand man, people like, what is this, Nixon and the team who were arraigned before the General Court Martial. And the kind of halabalu we have witnessed, the exchange we have always been treated to between his office and the security minister, and the clash generally amongst the security agencies. Of course, the reining in of the Border 2010, all those goons he has been conscripting into the force, and the kind of statements we used to get from the security minister. This was, you could see that something, spectacular was about to happen. Definitely it had to end this way. There was no way. What comes as a surprise is that both generals have fallen by the wayside. And I think it's just a tactic, it's a strategy. I'm very sure that General Tumukunde, one or the other, will have to bounce back. So it was foreseeable. An average Ugandan who is keen on observing these issues as they emerge, who has his antennas high up, would clearly see this coming. And it doesn't come as a surprise to us. It has always been a question of when, but it was bound to happen that way.
Finally, it has happened. Are people like you happy? Because I know you have been a victim of General Kale Kaihura and his work here in Kampala, trying to make sure he clamps down on you, Dr. Besigye, and several other politicians, especially opposition politicians. So you are saying you have been waiting for when this would happen. It has happened. Museveni is your hero finally, is he?
Oh, far from that, actually. Yes, there is some element of excitement within the public domain, not particularly with some of us, the political actors, on the other side of the political divide. But there are those who feel like it's good riddance for General Kaihura to be relieved of his duties. And of course, you'll appreciate that, given what we have gone through. And personally, well, I would be disingenuous if I did not tell you that, indeed, I also share a little bit of those feelings, those sentiments, but not absolutely that I feel like things now are going to change for the better. Why? Yes, let me say this. Kaihura is on record saying that the worst year that has happened during his term, those who have given him trouble, it's Dr. Besigye and Lukwago, not the criminals, not the hardcore criminals, not those who are threatening the security of this country, but people who are doing, civil politics. So that sounds strange and it's a paradox. So to say that Mr. Museveni is a hero to us, I think it would be, without due respect, an insult, because Kaihura has just been a pawn. He's been just a whip being kind of a whip being used by Mr. Museveni to clamp down on his adversaries, on his opponents. So in his own perception, Mr. Museveni looks at the likes of us, the opposition, as criminals, as people who are against the state, as people who are committing a treason even to oppose his government. So he has turned the police, the institution of police, into a regime protection force. So whether Kaihura is away from the picture, from the scene, the structure remains the same. And that's the reason, actually, for me, I'm not excited at the appointment of Ochola.
I was actually going to come to that and say that you folks have been agitating that the police gets to be run by professional policemen.
Yeah.
And of course, Ochola cuts out an image such as that. Do you remember the Sebutinde Commission?
Yeah, sure.
As it recommended the firing, the prosecution of several other police officers.
The Kasambos, the who.
It recommended that he be promoted because they saw professionalism with the way he was doing things. He was not tainted, and they said, this is the man to keep, this is the man to promote in the police force. And he has done his work, for those that have followed him, quite professionally. So does that give you hope that finally, at the helm of police, of course, he has a deputy who is an army man in the person of Brigadier Sabiti Muzei, but at the helm is, of course, Ochola, professional career man as a policeman who has had a not tainted image, and, some people feel he's the right man for the job. Does that give you hope?
Well, to be honest, I think his appointment was even long overdue. I think they have oppressed him. They were not, I think, fair to him to put him under the leadership of Kaihura. Kaihura exuded the character of a military general whose only role was to militarize the institution. But as you said, and I agree with you, Ochola cuts a stature of a career police officer who is professional, who, given good and conducive environment, he can deliver. He can live up to the bidding. Unfortunately, the structure that is being placed in his hands under his leadership is rotten. He's taking over a police institution whose mandate, as I've said, has been shifted from being a civil institution, from being a state institution, but rather a personal kind of, a personal institution. It has been personalized by Mr. Yoweri Museveni. It is now a political tool to oppress the opposition. So I don't see him getting on the top of the situation to change the outlook and the structural framework of the current police force. He does not have that capacity. He doesn't have what it takes. But amongst the police officers you have here, the career police officers, he would be the best. He is the best, actually. He is a man with a very clean record. His conduct is beyond reproach. You'll not find him in any of these fraudulent transactions or in any scandal. He has not been there. And I doubt whether you can fault him on anything. But the structure he has inherited, unfortunately, he's rotten. It's a rogue institution.
What should he do to clean it up? You see, Kampala, your jurisdiction, is the biggest consumer of police services. Why? Because there's a lot more activity here, obviously. Government installations, it's a capital city. Much of everything happens here. And much of the insecurity is actually happening here. So what should he do? What do you think he should focus on first? But also, more importantly, does he have the leeway to do what he needs to do as a professional?
I think the last aspect is the most fundamental. Would we have the goodwill to do that? Would we have that leeway you are talking about? Unfortunately, the environment doesn't suggest to show that you will have that luxury, that leeway. It may not be there. I have said he's not in a position now to carry out a total overhaul of the entire institution, because that cleanup requires massive overhaul. There are so many different units that have been coming up, mushrooming. The units that have been created by Mr. Kawura with different assignments, different roles. Is he going to dismantle all of them? For example, I would ask you, is he going to dismantle the crime preventers, that outfit? Is he going to deal with it? The flying squad? And many of these other units that have been coming up. So is he going to deal with them? How about the mindset within the force? Because behind him, he's taking over a militarized institution whose mandate, as I've said now, is to protect the regime, to keep it in power, to deal decisively with whoever has that thinking of dislodging Mr. Museveni from power. So is he going to change that? Does he have what it takes to do that? And besides, he is going to be subordinate. This is a paradox. He's going to be subordinate to his junior. Yes. Who is going to be in charge? His Brigadier Sabiti. You know his background in military police and elsewhere. So Brigadier Sabiti, he's strategically positioned there for that particular purpose. This one is going to be a titular figurehead. It's just going to be there for ceremonial purposes. Like they wanted to do to some of us. You are in State Hall, you are the Lord Mayor, but they grab the instruments of power from you. He will be good at leading flowery speeches at the state functions. He will also come and commission the cadets and do this and that, talking about community policing and so on and so forth. But when it comes to major policy decisions, say in the National Security Council, his voice will not be heard. He is not one person who will take a position and is respected. People will listen more to Brigadier Sabiti.
Why?
Why? Because Ochola is, for all intents and purposes, is an alien to the system. It's not within the inner circle. And you know where decisions are made. It will be difficult for him to enter in that position. Because let me tell you, let me give this example. You've read the UPDF Act. And they provide for the structural framework of the High Command. But they specifically stated that those were members, of course, amongst others, but they are saying the core.
There are actually names in that.
Yes, the core are those ones who were in the High Command as of 26th Feb 1986. And those are the people now who are coming up, like General Tumwine. So General Tumwine right now is in the evening of his career. He should be retiring. You
don't think he will do a good job at all? Or at least that now the feuding there has been between the security ministry, the other side, or the head thereof, and the police chief? Because some folks will tell you that why intelligence information was not shared, for example, is because everybody was doing their own. There was beef between these two. And now there's two people who seemingly can work together.
Who? Which two people?
General Tumwine and then Okoth Ochola this side.
You see now the problem you are making. I mean the mistake you are making here. They are not equals. Probably you should have said the General Jeje Odongo. Jeje Odongo is not a general. Jeje Odongo, because he's the Minister for Internal.
Jeje Odongo is a general.
He's a general, yes. Minister for Internal Affairs. But does he feature anywhere in the picture? He doesn't. You see, this proliferation of these different security agencies and ministries is specifically meant for that. Because there would be no justification why you would have a Minister for Defense, for example, Adolf Mwesige. He's a civilian. He has no military background. He's not within the ranks of the generals. You would have a Minister for Security, General Eri Tumwine. Then you have Minister for Internal Affairs. All of them are doing what? Duplication of roles. So the clash would generally be there. But now how it's going to be mitigated, you can see Adolf Mwesige is laid back. He's not playing the role of the Minister for Defense. You had the two generals in this particular case. You had General Kale Kaihura and General Tumukunde. Naturally, those ones have that claim of entitlement to the system. They would clash. What is going to minimize and mitigate the clashes is the fact that these other ones seem to be on the periphery. General Jeje Odongo is not within the inner circle. Adolf Mwesige, I've said, he's like myself. Actually, at least for me, I went for Mchaka, but for Adolf Mwesige, he's a good lawyer, he's my good friend, but in the military circles, he's nowhere. And I've said Jeje Odongo is laid back. Odongo. So the man who is going to call shots, who is going to take charge of all these security agencies, police, security, defense, he's Eri Tumwine. Because for him, you know what it means. He's actually been in charge of awarding medals. He knows who is a hero, who is a villain, who should get what. He's the man who is seized with that information. So Eri Tumwine is going to be in charge, being deputized by Sabit Muzei. So those are the two. And Sabit Muzei will be loyal to Eri Tumwine because he knows he's historical, he knows he's a man who is actually next to Yoweri Museveni. So that's how it's going to be structured. So all these other ones are just there, just to give a facade of an institution which is functional, a system which is functional, but they are just going to play a peripheral role. The Ocholas, the Jeje Odongo, Adolf Mwesige, and others. So that's the strategy Mr. Museveni came up with to minimize the clashes. But if you still remained with the persons of Kaihura and the outgoing Tumukunde, these two generals, certainly there was no way you would bring them on table. But what is going to happen, as I've told you, as day follows night, you'll see General Tumukunde bouncing back actually, most probably in a bigger way. In a bigger way. Who is the person who is going to fizzle out, unfortunately, in this, or fortunately, depending on the side where you stand, is Kaihura. Whichever position they are going, they might give him a retirement package somewhere, like Badi Ruchigundu is somewhere here in energy, whatever, or the former CDF Katumba that works. He works honestly. He's in charge of the civil works going on in this country. So he can also be given some retirement if he is not actually prosecuted. But I doubt that Mr. Museveni can go that far to prosecute him. He can just put him somewhere there. And all this machination, all these maneuvers are intended to entrench Mr. Museveni's personal rule, to keep grip on the system so that he's the only bull in the crowd. So he juggles with this, with that, and then he remains the strongest of all, so that he cuts out that cult, that structure, that stature of an invisible person who is omnipotent, who is invisible, whom you cannot assail, who should always be worshipped by his peers and those who are subordinate to him.
You're the leader of Kampala, and I don't know what your proposals have been and your council's proposals regarding security in this city, because there's lots of insecurity.
Can I tell you something?
People do not, they live in fear. That's for a fact.
Do you know what the law says? The person in charge of security in Kampala is the RCC. But I guess you don't even know the person holding that office.
But as leader of Kampala, you know, your people in Kampala are looking to you and they're wondering, okay, perhaps you have certain limitations, but what are your proposals?
No,
the other day, a friend told me, look, I was getting to my home and then a border passed and literally their heart got into their mouth. You know, people are attacked at their gates, they're attacked on the streets. There's quite a bit of insecurity in this city that you're superintending over as Lord Mayor. So,
yes, I'm a little concerned about that. But I'm one person who respects institutions and systems. The way the KCC Act is structured is that the roles are divided amongst different office bearers. I am not in charge, let me tell you this, according to the law. Yes, as a leader, or like any other Ugandan, I have that responsibility of ensuring that there is security in the city. But primarily, that mandate is vested in the office of the RCC. Actually, is supposed to be the chairperson of the security committee of the city.
Do you not oversee the work that they do as either Lord
I'm
Mayor
required
or
to be part of that committee. And when it comes to chairing the meetings, it is the RCC to do that. But there was no way where the situation has reached. She can't even call meetings of the security committee. Because that it brings together all the different key players, stakeholders in that particular sector. So she has to bring in the Commandant Metropolitan Police, Mr. Mwesugwa. They have to bring in the DISO. They have to bring in myself, and of course other key players. We have to be there. But the system is dysfunctional. It does not operate. So you want me to take a unilateral decision in a fragile situation like this, and I'm held accountable. Even when you come out to point out issues like, look here, why do we have all these security agencies coming up in Kampala? And the issue of conscripting, for example, if I came into that meeting and I questioned the irregular conscription of gangs within the police force, these chiefs, the sobis, the what, you'd see what would happen, the kind of treatment I would be subjected to. Wouldn't you ask yourself that a person who had even the capacity of blocking the presidential convoy of the president at Clock Tower, and said, please, Mr. Museveni, no, Your Excellency, kindly address the issue of borders and matatu operators. That was Chitata. He's the person who blocked Mr. Museveni. He brought those people. But what happened subsequently, they are telling us he's being charged with being in a possession of weapons which are ordinarily a monopoly of UPDF. You can imagine, how did he access those weapons? He's before the general court martial facing those charges. And when they carried out that operation in Kampala, that swoop in Kampala, I think it was an eye-opener to all of you. You would see all sorts of rudimentary weapons, knives, daggers, what not, within the offices here. And some of those offices are located within the central business district here. How could that happen? How could that happen? And the way these people are talking as if they are in charge of the security of this country, the Sobis. The day Sobi was arrested, I saw that video clip, was having an interview with some journalist. And they said, but today, he was picking a phone to call somebody. And he assured those people that whoever has persecuted him will face it rough. He didn't even spend a night or two there in prison. He wasn't even in charge. He is at large. And the next time I saw him, he was donning a yellow ribbon saying Itojukwatako. And those are the people in charge of security. So what do you expect me to do under such circumstances? As the Lord Mayor of the city, when you say dysfunctional system and Mr. Museveni enjoys it. So what do you expect to see? So the kind of degeneration of security situation we are grappling with right now is being superintended over by the very person who should be the fountain of honor, the commander-in-chief of armed forces. He has run down all these institutions. He has totally run them down completely. So reorganizing this institution is going to be a tall order. And that's why I sympathize with the likes of Ochola. He comes at the helm of police at a time when its image is irredeemably battered. And I doubt that he can rediscover it. He can rebrand it. I doubt. Because he may not be seized with capacity to fix the key issues that needs to be addressed.
I just keep wondering. There was a time when you folks in the opposition were quite up in arms about these issues, and of course, as a citizen, I get troubled that we should always wait, say, for the Lukwagos, the Vestiges of this world to talk about these issues, or I don't know, put up a protest. There seems to be a resignation of the citizenry. I don't know whether it's a question of fear of what could happen. I don't know whether it's a question of, what do we do? Let's see how we survive. Let's see how we can keep ourselves safe. You will see folks on social media make a bit of noise about these issues, but that's just about it. And yet security should be a critical issue. It's a matter of life and death. But there is no general concern to the effect that, this matter has gotten out of hand. What can we do about this? Can we task our leaders to fix this issue? I don't quite see that. Maybe I look in the wrong places. The security situation.
You task who in particular? You task
the powers that be in this case, I suppose.
This is why I've told you, if you have a situation where all the institutions have been hijacked by one person, the citizenry is a captive. Ugandans are captives of a particular group of people. So unless and until we address that issue, these other things we shall be just beating around the bush. Because there is no way, when you still have these generals who have that sense of entitlement. I've just given an example of the bouncing back within the security system of General Eddie Tumwine. Honestly, wouldn't we get a better person to handle this?
Who do you think would be a good replacement?
Quite a number, I don't even need to mention. I've told you the Ucholas have been there. Yes, is where he has been placed, that is perfect. But at that level, for example, I would tell you, why wouldn't you get a man like Katumba Wamala, for example? Why should he be in works? Couldn't he serve better as the Minister for Security? Couldn't he serve better? But I've told you, he's not the original team. The original team, one of the core shareholders of this enterprise called NRM. He's not there. So JJ, I mean, he will not be there to deal with the kind of situation we have. So for you to appeal to us to be patriotic, of course we are patriotic, because I can see that sense, the kind of message you are putting across.
And not just to
that
you, I'm talking about generally as
people have decided to be cynical. They are cynical about this because they know what is happening. They know people, for example, when they went to Chankwanzi to celebrate the violation of, abrogation of the Constitution, people just made fun out of it. They knew people were spending money on this. Some people are just turning to be cynical. I read somewhere in the social media where one journalist was, they said the next article you are going to see this gentleman writing is to send out in the 90s. Kidnappers would ask for a sum of around 100,000, but now they are asking in millions of dollars. So that journalist, who is a rabid Musevenist, would say, you see what? The economy has grown. You see now they are asking ransoms in millions of dollars. But you can see that level of cynicism within the members of within the general public. You can see that kind of, because we are talking about an emotive situation. We are the kidnap and the gruesome murder of Susan. This is something where one wouldn't even afford that kind of joke. But if people have reached that extent, what does that mean? Ugandans have decided to say, well, let's see them and how far they can go. It has happened in all these other states where, countries where dictatorships, took charge of the state structure. It happened in Libya during the Gaddafi days, Mubarak in Egypt, Mugabe actually closer home here in Zimbabwe, the Mugabe days, and of course, in many of these countries, it naturally happens. So when you have a person who has been in power for the last 32 years, and he tells you that actually he's not about to go, the signals is sending that he actually is only about to begin his governance. Then you wonder, if you get stories, for example, like they want to convince you, you've seen these stories, and I think you should. The other day I saw you here with Keith Makanis. I watched that show where you interrogated him on these issues, and I saw him fumbling here, failing to answer the questions. Of course, he had enough plausible answers. He could not respond adequately. It's unfathomable. You cannot believe it, that two people, Muhakanizi and the Kashaija, can go away with 200 million US dollars. They access our coffers, they go to the consolidated, because it goes to the consolidated fund. You would ask now the question that those two, without the knowledge of the Governor Bank of Uganda, without the knowledge of the president, and impunity reigns, continues. The only person now they are saying, I hear there's a major shake-up in Bank of Uganda. What has happened? Only one person, Bajenda. Yes, Bajenda also. It surprises that a person who has been supervising commercial banks has got on her account close to 20 billion Uganda, if that information is correct. So this is the kind of situation which creates public despondence. And they think that things have gone to, the country has gone to the dogs.
Okay, let's talk to the country people out there. Somebody on the line there. Hello, good morning. Sorry, we lost that person. Please, when you call us, remember to reduce the volume on your TV set so that we can be able to communicate effectively. We're talking matters security. Of course, you know what happened yesterday, the shake-up in Uganda's security apparatus. Did you see this coming? Are things going to get better? The Lord Mayor is concerned that his city is, to a great extent insecure. There's people that are living on tenterhooks. But anyway. Hello, good morning. Hello. Okay, I'm hoping there's no security situation with our phone calls. But do try again. The key rule is when you call, reduce the volume on your TV set so that you don't get feedback and then we cannot communicate. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Hello?
Good morning. What's your name, sir? Okay, we'll try somebody else. Hello, good morning.
Hello?
Good morning. What's your name, sir?
Nzemushokedani kati tusigazaawo omusirikale omu bamuyita Tawubu Maali ali mu URA Nakawa bw'ogenda okuwaba nga abasirikale yiga nga bakugyeko ebintu byo bagamba Nakawa tebabamanyi n'ogenda ku poliisi Magamaga n'owaaba bagamba tebabamanyi n'ogenda mu kooti Tawubu Maali n'ayiwa abamagye ne bakubira ku kooti.
I'm not too sure I understood what he was communicating. Well, I understand Uganda, but what he was conveying, I'm not too sure I got that. But let's speak a few, then we'll get back and respond. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. What's your name, Chief? Godfrey, you said? There's volume on your TV set. Could you reduce it, please? Hello? Okay, we had to lose that person. Please, when you call, reduce the volume on the TV set. Good morning.
Hello. Morning, sir.
What's your name, Chief?
It's Kulu.
Your name again?
I'm called Bukenya Grace Big K.
Yes, Mr. Bukenya.
Thanks for bringing our good mayor in studio. And I'm the one of the few Ugandans who are jubilating about this change. I appreciate the great minds of His Excellency to make such a change, because some of Ugandans have been victimized, framed, and have been crying with no help. But thanks the president to listen. We have been writing to him to do that big change. And this is an advice to all people who are going to take over the offices. Please, we should serve the country. We should serve the country so that we don't get problems like it has been. Many people are in Luzira rotting and nobody cares. So I appreciate, as me, Deacon, the appointment of the General Eric Mwine, and we're expecting a lot from you. We're expecting a change. Also, big up the mayor. Mayor, you know what happened to me, was framed. Up to now, I have no job. Everything turned down. Even my kids are still at home because of Dem Kale Kaihura. Such messes, and nobody could come up to assist innocent Ugandans. Cadres, we are suffering. We have been suffering. And nobody, except the president. And Mayor, we don't belong to the same party, but I do appreciate your job, your work. Please keep.
Okay, thank you for sharing your thoughts. That's a gentleman who is frustrated, Bukenya, but again, he's happy that these changes have happened. Hello, good morning. Hello?
Hello?
Good morning. What's your name, sir?
Hello?
I hear you loud and clear. What's your name, Chief?
Kasule Sam.
Kasule. Kasule, could you communicate in English? We want to make sure all our viewers will understand what you're going to say. And there is volume on your TV set, Mr. Kasule. Okay, let's do away with that phone call. Please, when you call, I know, yes, we are in Kampala. This is the Lord Mayor, and there's a lot of, predominant Luganda is spoken here, but we have viewers from across the country who don't understand Luganda. So let's be fair to them and communicate in English. Hello, good morning.
Morning.
What's your name, sir?
Victor.
Dixon, you said? Okay, we lost Dixon. Let's try somebody else. Hello, good morning. Hello. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. What's your name, Chief?
I'm called George William. Good morning.
Your name again?
George William from Bulenga.
George William. Yes, talk to us, George.
The fact is that what they have done is just a trial, but the habit of the police has dominated the countrywide.
police is attacking people in an unrightful condition. So we just request the allies that have admitted to come in and they continue harassing people from up. As was indicated last week, that it is the work that police is responsible for this. Police is doing this process in other ways. You can imagine.
Okay, sorry, we lost you. Your line was not too clear, but we picked up a few things that you were saying. Hello, good morning. Hello. Please reduce the volume on your TV set. We're getting feedback here. Sorry, we had to drop that one too. Hopefully we can play by the rules. Just reduce volume on your TV set. Oh my goodness. You're a lawyer. How do people ensure that people follow rules? I normally, oh my goodness. I normally have a hard time explaining to our good people. Please, when you call, make sure the volume on your TV set is lessened to 0.
Just have to be patient to cultivate that culture.
Well, so you see, when Mr. tells you he needs more time to do this. All right. Hello, good morning.
Lord Mayor, good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, I'm happy to see you on TV on Morning Again today.
Thank you.
But my point is,
what's your name, sir?
I would like to thank the president for stopping Kaifura, because Kaifura has banged a lot of innocent people in New Zealand. I also beg you, Lord Mayor, since you're a lawyer in your capacity, to struggle so much so that you lose to the other case that Kaifura got to face the courts of law. You know, lawyers brings arrogant people into books. I request you, sir, to wake up strongly so that you raise out that case, so that Kaihura faces the courts of law. He also goes to Luzira and see how it hurts for someone to be taken to Luzira when it is innocent. But when to discuss Tumukunde has been a very good man. For me, I don't have any problem with Tumukunde, however much the president has dragged him. But when it comes to service, Tumukunde has been doing. Because now when I ask myself, this day Tumukunde ordered the same way guys to go and arrest these guys. Kitakata was those are guys who have been threatening people in massacre, in massacre, in each and every area. Because when the same way guys went to Kitakata's office, those small office, they found the tangas, they found the uniform, police uniform. We were not police officers. So those were real border guys. Kaiwea was using those guys to cut us, to threaten the security. I don't know whether Kaiwea was planting whatever things in the police, but he had spoiled the whole things. But I don't have any problem with Tumukunde. That's our Lord Mayor for struggling. We are struggling, all of us, so that we see that we receive changes. But please raise that case. So that Kaiwea also faces the courts of law and see how hard it becomes for somebody to be taken to Brazil when he's innocent. Thank you very much. Good morning.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Somebody's baying for Kaihura's blood. All right, we'll pick about 2 or 3 final calls. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning. What's your name?
Yes, Senyonyi.
Yes, please.
This is John Bosco calling from Bali.
Yes, John Bosco.
Now, I'm also I'm so happy. I'm congratulating His Excellency for sacking of General Kaihura. But maybe I wanted him to stay in this General Tumukunde. Tumukunde has been so good man. Tumukunde has helped the country very well, and he's the person who rescued Uganda and is going to the captive of Kaihura. So that is sacking of Tumukunde, I'm not so happy with it. But with Kaihura, I'm just thanking him. God bless you. And also Lukago should go to court, should take him to court because he oppressed him. You know, his manhood was really damaged. You should take him to court. They arrest him. He has those cases. Thank you.
All right, thank you, John Bosco. People are giving you legal advice. You're the lawyer who is supposed to give legal advice. But anyway, hello, good morning.
Yes.
What's your name, sir?
Good morning, Mr. My friend. How are you?
Your name again, sir?
This is Hassan from Bali.
Yes, Hassan from Bali. Talk to us.
Yes, but I stay somewhere overseas. I wanna say this way that no condition is permanent. Kaihura should face the music.
Okay.
And that word no condition is permanent goes everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Hassan. Clearly encouraging people. Let me take perhaps 2 more calls finally. Hello, good morning. Hello? There's volume on your TV set. Could you reduce it, please? Sorry, we had to drop that one. Hello, good morning. Hello. All right. Let me attempt with one person. Hopefully they will follow the rules. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning. What's your name?
Hello.
I hear you loud and clear. What's your name, sir?
One person. Hopefully they will follow the rules.
All right. Let's leave it at that for the phone calls. Let's look at a couple of things that have been raised. Of course, a couple of people are thanking you. Others are happy about the changes. Some feel Tumukunde should not have been dropped. They felt, he had begun to do some good work.
You know what is featuring prominently from the feedback we are getting? Kaihura is a villain. Tumukunde is a hero. If you follow this conspiracy theories doing rounds in the social media, that probably Tumukunde was on a mission to finish up Kaihura, and that it was a game of politics by Mr. Yoweri Museveni. If indeed it, because it gives credence to that, the kind of feedback. Now that mission accomplished, mission accomplished, then he can also go away, and then we wait for another big announcement for General Tumukunde. If that was the game plan, then Mr. Museveni should reward the architects of this mission handsomely, because it has worked. If indeed it's true, I'm putting that caveat, because I'm not so sure whether it is true. There are those allegations also, of course, that Kaihura was probably harboring political ambitions, and he was also closing in on, more or less, like you've had these coups coming up. Coups are not orchestrated by people from outside the system. It's always internal. But that aside, I have no evidence for that. And as I said, I put a disclaimer. But that aside, I would, to a certain extent, agree with the callers that probably if you were to assess the two individuals, to juxtapose them and say Kaihura and Tumukunde, in the recent, going by the recent developments, you would say you would give credit to Tumukunde, and to a certain extent, as the callers are saying. But we are yet to see his true character. He has had a brief stint at that post. We are not so sure how he would. Because actually, Kaihura was also praised when he had just come into office. The reason he has stayed there for long, there are those who trusted him. And I would ask those who are because I share their sentiments, as I said, because I'm also a victim of his excesses. But wouldn't you ask yourself a fundamental question, that whose interest was Kaihura serving? By whipping people here, unleashing tear gas, because now he's being referred to as, that's what's going to define his legacy, tear gas general. Tear gas general. So how did he earn that name? Was it for personal aggrandizement or for protection of the institution, the system? So to bring all these deployments is being here, is having here, turning into most of these open spaces into police grounds, like the roundabout Karerwe, Busega, State Square, and many others. So what motivates him to do that? Is it personal interest? I don't think so. Of course, he would also pursue his own agenda in doing that. Just like the Chitatas, they would come down here and say, for us, we are for Tojikwatako. We are for Jikwateko, we are for Museveni Paka Last, Museveni Non-Stop. Like all these praise singers you see, the bootlickers you see, who are saying, Mzee Ibera, don't go anywhere, blah, 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 blah. They have their own selfish agenda they are pursuing. But in totality, Kaihura was protecting Mr. Museveni in office. To me, that is the bottom line. So, in whatever is happening, you should not divorce Mr. Museveni from this. And he shouldn't be a beneficiary of this. They shouldn't heap praises on him that finally he has removed Kaihura from this office. Let me tell you this. You are yet to test the lethal, part of General Eri Tumwine. You wait and see. General Eri Tumwine, you don't know him. Those who are celebrating the changes, they don't know the character of General Eri Tumwine. One thing, he believes that this state belongs to those who went to the bush, that they are the ones who own this state. When he looks at the likes of Lukwago and others, I've told you, in his own mind, we are criminals. We are committing treason to oppose Mr. Museveni. This is what I said at the outset, that we are committing treason to oppose Mr. Museveni. That is his perception. Personally, I have my own experience. In 2005, when he was the chairman of General Court Martial, I appeared there as one of the lawyers representing Dr. Chiza Besigye. Whatever happened before the General Court Martial, it's a story that will have a whole chapter in the book I'm about to write about my life. I'm telling you, the kind of ordeal he subjected me to. Basically because I was doing my work as a professional. I stand to speak out to defend my client. He decides to arraign me. He put me in the dock simply because I was speaking out before him in defense of the client who had instructed me. He arraigned me. I was charged, summarily, tried within a space of an hour, and convicted and sentenced.
What was the sentencing?
1 week imprisonment, or no, a fine of 1,000 Uganda shillings, or 1 week's imprisonment in lieu, in default rather, of that fine. If I failed to pay 1,000 shillings, and I had the urge of not paying so that I served the 1 week sentence. No, 2 weeks, not 1 week. It was 2 weeks. I remember it was my dear sister Salam Musumba, who was within the court premises. We mobilized others and said, they mobilized the coins
to raise the
1,000 shillings, coins of 50 shillings. Now, that is the I've been in parliament with him. By the way, he has been one of the MPs representing UPDF.
He still is, matter of fact.
No, he has been there from the beginning, from inception, and he's not about to leave. No, he has always been there. And in all these hot debates, you would see him coming out aggressively against those who would oppose the status quo, those who would oppose the system, aggressively.
Well,
and you are going to see him, you wait and see.
Let's wait and see.
So for me, I would give this, as I conclude, to agree to a certain extent with the callers there. Given a task to choose between two devils, I'm sorry to use figuratively, two devils, between General Tumwine and General Tumukunde, I would reluctantly go for General Tumukunde. I'm telling you. Even the statement at the burial of Kiri's son, that statement, recognizing the role Dr. Besigye has played in the politics and the development of this country, General Tumwine cannot do that.
Okay.
He will not recognize that.
Let's watch and see how things will play out. Hopefully things get better and not worse. Lord Mayor, thank you for making time to share your thoughts with us. Totally appreciate it.
Most welcome. I thank you very much. I think we have added value to the ongoing debate and all the issues we have in this country. I thank you very much for this
opportunity. Without a doubt.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so that's it for today's edition of Morning at 10 TV. Thank you for joining us. My name is Joel Senyonyi.